Okay, so good morning. Today we're going to talk about another form. This is the third form that we're talking about for quadratics, and this is standard form. Okay, so standard form is the form that you've seen it before. Like we've used it before, and you're going to notice it. Okay. So last week we talked about vertex form, right? Then we talked about intercept form the past couple of days, and now we're talking about the third form, which is standard. So I'm going to go to the Desmos calculator so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so you're on the screen. Here we go. So on Desmos, okay, we're just going to talk about the generic standard form first. So let me write something. So we're talking about standard form. Okay. So standard form, what that is the general form is y equals, like we've always seen, right? Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, okay? And just like what we've been doing, the letters have meaning, right? We can find stuff from these letters. So from the A, let me change the color. So the A right here, the A in the very front, okay? The A tells me, so I'm put it over here. The A, let me say this. If A is negative, okay, that means the parabola opens down, right? And that's just like it was with a vertex form and with intercept form. If the A, the number in front is negative, it opens down. We have an upside down U, right? But we can also say if A is positive, obviously, the parabola opens up. Okay, it makes sense. It's what we've been doing. If the number in front is a positive number, it opens up. If it's a negative number, it opens down, right? It's that easy, okay? The next letter we're going to go to, we're going to skip over B and we're going to go to C, okay? Because we're going to go to C. So make sure we get the sign with C, okay? So what C tells me is C tells me what the y-intercept is, okay? C tells me what the y-intercept is. So for example, the y-intercept on the graph is going to be the point 0, comma, whatever the value of C is, okay? So let's say I had like a +2 right there in the back, right? If I had a +2, my y-intercept would be 0, 2. If I had a -4, my y-intercept would be 0, -4, right? That's it. That's all the y-intercept is, okay? And the B, it honestly doesn't really tell us that much. It doesn't tell us anything like straight up, like once we get the equation, okay? So we're gonna kind of leave C alone for right now. And we're gonna look at some examples, okay? So let me get rid of this. Let me clear these. Okay, so let's look at our first example. Let's say I have, oh, no, not this. Let's say I have, what, why can't I click this? There we go. Let's say I have x squared minus 2x minus 3, right? Let's say I have that, and we'll get to the graph later. We'll use that in a little bit, okay? But let's say I have this, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want to label my A, B, and C, okay? So let's do that. So we'll start with A. So remember, A is whatever's in the front, okay? But if you look, I don't have anything in the front, right? So that means there's an imaginary 1 in front, okay? So with that 1, you can put a little box around it. And because I have a 1, right, it's positive, we can say that it opens up. So we can say because, we can say A equals 1, right? And then because, I can't type anything, because A is positive, okay, because A is positive, the parabola opens up, That's it. That's what the A tells us, right? The B is whatever's in the middle with the sign. So in this case, my B is -2. Okay, my B is -2. I'm gonna go type that down here. So right here, B equals -2. Okay. Now that's not really important now, but eventually once we start doing stuff, it will be. Okay. So right now we just label it as B is -2. That's it. That's fine. That's all I want y'all to do. And then finally we get to C. So C is this whatever's in the back with the sign. Make sure you keep the sign. Okay. So that tells me that C equals -3, because see it's -3. Okay. So C equals -3. So because of that, that means my y-intercept is 0, comma, whatever my C value is, so -3. Okay. And that's it. That's what I can get straight up just from looking at this equation. Okay. I don't even have to look at the graph to be able to tell that the parabola opens up and that the y-intercept is 0, comma, -3. Okay. Now we can even check our answers, right? So let me do that. So if we go to the graph, let me make this go. There we go. So if we go look at the graph, right? I want to check the A is positive, so it opens up. This parabola obviously opens up, right? And I also said that the y-intercept is 0, -3. So we go to the y-axis, and that's true. My y-intercept is 0, -3. So it works, like I'm not lying to you, okay? So the other things that I'm going to ask you to find, and this is kind of coming back to the attributes that we did a couple weeks ago, is I'm going to ask you to find the attributes. So what I mean by that is something like, what is the, let me make that different color, is like, I'm going to ask you what is the vertex, right? I'm going to ask you what is that? I'm going to ask you what are the x-intercepts, okay? I'm going to ask you, what else? That's about it. It's all the important stuff. Okay, I'm gonna ask you what's the vertex, the x-intercepts, the y-intercept, and if it opens up or down. Okay, that's probably like the main stuff I'm gonna ask you. So just looking at this graph on Desmos, right? Remember the vertex is either the lowest or the highest point. So on this graph, I have a lowest point, right? So all you have to do on Desmos is you just go down to where the vertex is, and you just like hover over it. So I find that the vertex is 1, comma, -4. So I go right here and I type, whoa, what is that? Nope, messed up. Okay, we'll figure it out. So 1, comma, -4. Just like that. Okay, it says my vertex. I got that. Now my x-intercepts are where my graph, my parabola crosses the x-axis. So it's on this line right here. So all you do, same thing. You hover them over them. One of my x-intercepts is -1, comma, 0. So -1, comma, 0. And the other one is 3, comma, 0. So we just go 3, comma, 0. Okay. And that's it. We're done. So I found, just from looking at this and typing it into Desmos, I found that the parabola opens up, right, which we can see. I found that the y-intercept is 0, -3, which we double checked on the graph. I found the vertex is 1, comma, -4 down here. And I found that my x-intercepts are -1, 0 and 3, 0. Okay, I found all of those things just by looking at the standard form equation and then by just typing into Desmos. Okay, so that's it. Okay, we're gonna look at another example. Let me clear that, and let me type in a new equation. So let's look at, let's say 2x squared plus 14x plus 20. Cool, something like that. Okay, so here we go. So again, let's start with the A value. So my A, remember that's whatever's in front. So I box that. Okay, so that tells me that A equals 2. Okay, so because A equals 2, what do I know from that, right? Well, it's a positive number, so that tells me that the parabola opens up, right? And I can double check just by looking at the graph, right? This graph opens up also. So the parabola opens up, okay? And that's it, we got the A. Next, we'll go to B. So B, remember it's all of this inside. So plus 14, positive 14. So I'm gonna go right here. I'm just gonna say B equals 14. Okay, just like that. And again, we can't really tell anything from that right now, but we just write it down. And then we go to C, which is this positive 20 in the back. So that tells me, so C equals 20. That tells me that the y-intercept, I spelled that wrong, y-intercept is 0, comma, whatever my C value is, so 0, comma, 20, just like that, okay? So we're good. I found out the parabola opens up and the y-intercept is 0, 20 just from looking at this, okay? So now we gotta find those two extra stuff. So the first thing I wanna find, no, why did you change the color? There we go. So the first thing I wanna find is the vertex, okay? So remember, the vertex is the highest or lowest point on the graph. So here, since it opens up, I have a lowest point. So if I go and look at my graph, my lowest point, I highlight over it, it's this, negative 3.5, comma, negative 4.5. So all we gotta do, type in comma, negative 3.5, parentheses, negative 4.5. Just like that, easy, okay? We're done with the vertex. Go down, x-intercepts, okay? So again, that's where my graph crosses the x-axis. So when I go and I look, and there's one, negative 5, comma 0. And then I slide over, there's another one. And negative 2, comma 0. Perfect, we're good, okay? So again, it took me 2 minutes, right? I found that the parabola opened up. I found that the y-intercept is 0, 20. And if you don't believe me, we can zoom out of here, or we can slide it. Let me zoom out. Hold on. Let me zoom out of here. And I look and I see that my y-intercept is, look at that, 0, 20, right? You can just zoom out. The zoom out button's over here and zoom in's right here. Okay, whatever works for you. And I also found the vertex is negative 3.5, negative 4.5, and my x-intercepts. Okay, so I found all those things in 2 minutes just from looking at this equation in standard form and from typing into Desmos. Okay, so we'll do one more example and then we'll be done. So let me clear all this. Let me get rid of that. And let me do another one. So y equals, let's say negative 6x squared minus 19x plus, no, minus 2. No, minus 1. Minus 1, good. There we go. Okay, so last example. This is a weird looking one. You can already tell the graph's kind of funky. So let's start from the beginning. So again, we got to identify our A, B, and C. So let's box the A. Remember, it's everything in front. So it's not just 6, it's negative 6. So I'm going to go type right here. So A equals negative 6, right? Now, what does that mean? So now A is negative. So that tells me that my parabola opens down. Okay, it opens down. And you can see that on the graph. It goes up and it comes back down. It's an upside down U. Okay. So let's go to the next letter. So the next letter is B. So again, B is what's in the middle. It's not 19. B is negative 19. Okay, negative 19. So watch what I'm going to do. So I'm going to write that B equals negative 19. Okay, and we don't need that now again, but eventually we will. And then finally I go to my last letter, which is C. Again, C is not 1. C is negative 1. Okay, so I go put that here. C equals negative 1. Okay, and that tells me that the y-intercept is 0, comma, -1. And boom, we got it. Okay. And we can check on the graph, right? The y-intercept should be 0, comma, -1. And there it is. We're right. Okay. So now we got to find those two extra things. So let me go to here. Need a different color. Okay. So let's start with the vertex. Okay. So remember, the vertex is the lowest or highest point. So looking at this, we see that there's a highest point, but I can't really see it. So I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit. Oh, no, I zoomed in. Zoom out, and then, or just kind of scroll up. You can kind of click and drag. So my highest point is up here at a really funky point, okay? -1.58314.042, okay? That happens. It's going to look kind of like funky sometimes, but that's okay. So let me go back to this text. So the vertex, no. That'll work. Nope, that won't work. There we go. So my vertex is, can't see it. Hold on. There we go. My vertex is 1.583, comma 14.042. Okay, real funky numbers. Okay, and that's the vertex. That's fine. That works. Okay, so let's go down, and we can find our x-intercept. Once I zoom in. Okay, so I see one here, and I see one here, and they're both kind of weird numbers. That's okay. So I go to my text, x-intercepts. Okay, so I have one at -3.113, comma 0, and the ones you have won't be that funky, I promise. It's just an example one. -0.054, comma 0. Yeah, you're never gonna have any x-intercepts or vertex. It's weird. I usually try to make them nice numbers, okay? But you might have it, okay? So again, this is probably the weirdest one you're gonna see. I can still tell that the parabola opens down. My b is -19. My c is -1, which tells me the y-intercept is -1. And I got my vertex up here and my x-intercepts right here, okay? So it looks kind of weird, but it's the same thing. There's nothing different, okay? One more thing that I do want to show y'all before I end the video is the order of stuff. So let's say I have something like, I don't know, 2x plus 6 minus 4x squared, like that, okay? So if you see this, this isn't in proper standard form, okay? It's in the wrong order. So there's two things you could do if it's in the wrong order like this, okay? One of them is you can just rearrange it, okay? So you'd write it in the proper order. So the x squared would go first. So we would write -4x squared. Why is it doing that? There we go. Then the x goes in the middle, so plus 2x minus 6, okay? So you can either rewrite it, or you can just know and just box, like, you know that -4 is your A, you know that 2x is your B, and 6 is your C, okay? So there's a couple ways you could do it. I would just rewrite it, okay? That's the easiest way. So if you get it in a funky way, just rewrite it in the proper standard form, okay? The x squared goes first, the x goes in the middle, and the constant goes at the very end by itself, okay? So that's all. That's your only assignment for today. You will have another assignment on Monday. And if you have any questions, just let me know. And there we go. Have a good day.